day dawns, once more the gift is given. Wonder-filled this moment shared together. The light of peace here shines upon each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home. Open our eyes to see that life abounds. Open hearts to welcome it among us. The light of love here shines above each face. May it bring faith to guide our journey home.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. That is much better. Isn't it a fabulous morning? So here, to open us with some opening words, here we are surrounded by signals and energy of various technologies, including the internet, which is back up after a tree tried to disrupt it this past week. We're surrounded by these energies in our homes, in our communities. They swirl around us, even here and everywhere we are. However, may we still come into this place of peace and respite, a place where, while the signals continue, the demands they carry can be set aside for a little while. A place where we can retreat from the noise of our world into the peace of these precious moments that we share. Come, let us worship together. And we get all digital music today. Isn't that cool?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. I'm Jason, and I'll be your worship associate today. This is a welcoming congregation, and we're always working on how better to welcome and care for one another. If this is your first time, we're so glad you've come. And whoever you are and wherever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. As we begin, we would like to acknowledge that this church occupies land in Huichin, the unceded territory of the Chochenyo-speaking Olón people. We understand that we continue to benefit from the seizure and occupation of this land. We acknowledge and embrace our responsibility to take restorative action. We affirm that this is deeply felt and commit our congregation to be right relations with Indigenous communities, aligning in solidarity, supporting Indigenous projects, caring properly for the land. Let us rekindle our chalice flame with these words by Louis Van Leer. We light this chalice on the brink of a new year, letting go of what has been, open and hopeful for what may come, renewed, restored, ready to live life fully anew. May we move forward with intention. We also pause to remind ourselves of some of the foundations of resilience. With Reverend Michelle, we light a candle of courage, a candle of acts of service, a candle of fellowship, and a candle of hope. May we find and cultivate these foundations of resilience in ourselves and in one another. And now, please rise in body or spirit to join in singing our opening song, Come, Sing a Song with Me. The words will be on the screen.
Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me. Come sing a song with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love that grows in the winter time.
Please remain standing with me and join in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
All right. I would like to invite our young folks and folks who are young at heart to come on down to the front. Onto the stairs, not that front. Come on over here. That includes our coming of agers who are in the room. I know you're here. I call them because our coming of age program is starting this morning, which is a super special rite of passage that UU congregations offer to our younger teens as they are moving through that coming of age period. And that's starting today too. All right. So today's service is about technology. Yes, it's a great big word that I know you all know what it means. Who has a smartphone? You can raise it higher, it's okay. Who has a smartphone? See, it's okay. Out of y'all, who's grown-ups? Which of you have grown-ups that have smartphones? I expect most every hand that understands what I'm talking about. All right. This is not working perfectly. I will hold it right there. So, anyone have mealtime technology rules in your house? Yeah, what's your rule? Not allowed to use them while the family's having dinner. I like that rule. Anybody else? Mealtime technology rules. Not really allowed to use them during dinner.
It's like if there's an emergency or something, or if one of our alarms goes off.
Okay, emergency alarms.
Then we just, it's not usually for emergencies, it's just like maybe we have dinner late and it's alarming like, hey, it's 7.
Okay, so maybe having dinner late, it's an alarm that wouldn't normally go off during dinner, but it does. Yeah. Okay. Any other mealtime technology rules? Yeah?
If we go out to dinner, phones are not anywhere.
If you go out to dinner, phones are not anywhere. How sad is it? There was another hand? Oh, there's somebody avoiding the front. I see. So 88% of Americans believe it's not okay to use a phone during a meal, but 33% do. And there's a rule that grown-ups have. Y'all might appreciate this, knowing about your mealtime rules, because grown-ups struggle with the rules too. This is the eating out phone penalty game. Who's here has heard of this one? The rule is, when a bunch of grown-ups go out, this is the phone penalty game, they all put their phones in the middle of the table, because they're not allowed to use them, and the first person that goes for their phone pays for everybody. Because there are studies that show that even the presence of a phone on a table while you're having a meal decreases. It makes it harder to listen to people and harder to feel what they're feeling. Decreases empathy is the big way of saying that. Not even using it, just the presence of a phone or some sort of technology sitting on the table gets in the way of us being humans with each other. Yeah. So I have a challenge for you all this week. I have to modify it, though, given the amount of rain that we're going to have. So this week, at a time that you are bored, and normally you'd go turn on the television, turn on a video game, pull out your phone or other device, look at something electronic, don't do it. When you say, oh, I'm bored, and you're going to go reach for something, don't do that. Instead, I would say go play outside, but it's going to rain all week. So go do something else, though. Go read a book, go draw a picture, go do a hobby. Go just sit and hug a stuffed animal. Stuffed animals rock. What? Play in the rain anyway. Didn't we just sing Go Walk in Rain with Me with the song? Yes. So go do that instead. Yeah. That sound good? Do you think you can make one time this week choose to not use technology when you would have? Yeah.
I find that sometimes it is smart to use your phone in some of those cases.
Oh, yeah.
Because sometimes you might actually be doing something that is beneficial, like you might be catching up on homework. I know that most of my homework is online these days, and like I have.
Yeah.
I have one platform that I talk to my friends a lot on.
Mm-hmm.
So I might be sharing something.
So it is hard, as you're saying, because there's so much that almost requires use of technology. You're saying a lot of your homework's online these days. But on the other hand, I'm about to throw my daughter under the bus here. She watches a lot of YouTube on her phone. And she would, be on the phone, go into the bathroom, and just get sucked into the YouTube. I timed it once, 45 minutes. She wasn't doing homework in there. She wasn't. She denied it. She said, I've only been gone 5 minutes. So I agree, and, did you see this right here? She's making my point for me. Do you see this? Yes, thank you. All right, so with that, I encourage you to just because you're bored, not because you're doing your homework, because you're bored, you go to technology, choose not to, once this week. And now we are going to sing them to their RE classes and their first coming of age class. Do you have any announcements about locations? Come close so you can be mic'd.
I do. So if you're going to coming of age, you're going to go to the chrysalis room. If you are doing RE, it's going to be in the usual place. And the RE teachers will be in the hallway. We'll gather, walk there together. And if you're going to do youth RE, you're going to go to the Sophia room.
All right. Coming of age, chrysalis room, youth, Sophia room. Everybody else, meet your teachers in the hallway. All right, now we already practiced it once. Let's sing Come Walk in Rain with Me. Let's sing our kids to their classes. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come learn a thing with me. Come learn a thing with me. Come learn a thing with me. Come learn a thing with me, that I might know you're mine. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. We forgot to add that one into the videos. Technology, right? Ah. Let's now enter this time in our service that we make to ground ourselves, that we make to connect with ourselves within and with those around us, reaching out our feelings and empathy, regardless of whether or not there's a phone sitting on the table. We lift up and hold the joys and sorrows and cares and concerns in this beloved community. During our time of silence this morning, I invite you to surround yourself with the warmth of compassion and extend that to those around you that you see and those who are zooming in with us as well. They are part of our community too. Let us join now in a time of silence. Amen. I invite you now to join in a meditative experience for finding our centers. At this time of the year, this beginning of our calendar year, when often we get more introspective and reach in to find that center to position ourselves for the new year. So first breathe. Breathe deeply and fully. Breathe in, taking air into your body to nourish you, and out, letting go of what your body no longer needs. Just breathe. I invite you to consciously center your attention on your own body, on the feeling of your own breath. If a distraction comes in from outside or inside, just let it be. Let it float on along like a cloud. Imagine or sense within yourself your own center, your own center point, nourished and protected and surrounded by your breath. Go ahead and drop your attention into that center point and hold it there. Wherever that point may be, whether it be in your head, in your torso, drop down to your lower torso, down towards your root chakra, wherever that point may be. When you're feeling centered in yourself, let your focus now shift to also take in those around you. Sense in your imagination a connection from your center to theirs. Imagine an invisible thread connecting you, one from you to every person around you in your space, between your center and theirs. And as your mind takes in all of these threads, these invisible but sensing threads that start from each of those and others and connect to you and connect between others and others, weaving an invisible net of connections. Center to center, true and best self connected to true and best self. Breathe in that sense of connection from others to the preciousness of you. Breathe out a sense of your connecting to these precious others. Breathe. Center. Connect. Feel the power that flows from your center through those threads, through other centers, and back to you. Breathing, centered in the present. Take a few more breaths, then come back to the conscious presence here, in this space, in this room, wherever that room is that you are, with others who are here. Go ahead and cover up that center part of yourself. Hold your hands over your heart if that's where it is, and go ahead and give that center a good energetic tap, a warm hug, as you hold this awareness as you go forth into the coming week. Open your eyes when you are ready. Please remain seated to join in our meditative song, Dark of Winter. The words might be, on screen. Dark of Winter 55, I think, in the gray.
Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will. Ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, then my fears will rise. Let your peace flow through me.
If you are joining us on YouTube, you will notice that I have been chatting a little bit during the service. And I've done that just to show some of the power of the positive ways of using technology and how it can bring us together and allow people that would not normally be able to join in our services to participate with us. And I have joining us, my children from Italy are with us today, and possibly also my mother in El Cerrito. See. I had an amazing holiday season which brought together all the most important people in my life. It was a union between my Italian family and California family. And I wrote this reflection on the heels of this marvelous experience. It brought together my past life, which is never past, together with my present life, which is but a fleeting moment preceding the future. It was from this point of departure I had hoped to draft something on the theme of technology to share with the congregation the way in which each moment of this holiday journey was captured, recorded, and edited by my Gen Z and millennial children. I wanted to explore what I saw as their attempt to capture every moment so that it would not phase out into the past, but remain ever present in the digital universe. This existential desire of ours to become immortal and to commune with the eternal by recording our lives is a worthy theme. But while reflecting on this, my mind wandered to a meditation which is presently more meaningful to me. So this morning I'd like to touch on a philosophical intersection of nostalgia, defined as the sentimental yearning for the happiness of a former place and time, and melancholia, which to my purpose I'm defining as a sentimental yearning for a place and time which never existed and never will. It is my thesis that nostalgia and melancholia can be transformed into euphoria if we can escape from thinking of time as linear and rather live life in the only time which does exist, which is the now. So with that, I'd like to share something from an old friend of mine, T.S. Eliot. Together with his lady friend, Emily Hale, T.S. Eliot visited the ruined Norton House in Gloucestershire, England. This house had been burned to the ground by its owner, Sir William Keate, who perished in the flames. It's unknown if Sir William actually set the blaze intentionally or accidentally in a drunken stupor. But what is known is that he started, this event occurred after he had been abandoned by his mistress, for whom he had bought the estate and surrounding gardens. After their visit to Norton House, Eliot stayed in close correspondence with Hale and sent her many of his poems, one of which is considered amongst his greatest works and is titled Burnt Norton, after the destroyed manor and its gardens. I found it curious that a poem which explores the nature of time and human existence was titled after a manor burnt to the ground by a man suffering at that intersection of nostalgia and melancholia, and was written by an author who may very well have been longing for a future he could not have. So I'd like to share an excerpt from this work, from Burnt Norton by T.S. Eliot. Time present and time past are both perhaps present in time future, and time future contained in time past. If all time is eternally present, all time is unredeemable. What might have been is an abstraction remaining a perpetual possibility only in a world of speculation. What might have been and what has been point to one end, which is always present. Footfalls echo in the memory down the passage which we did not take, towards the door we never opened, into the rose garden. My words echo thus in your mind. But to what purpose disturbing the dust on a bowl of rose leaves? I do not know. Go, 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 said the bird. Humankind cannot bear very much reality. Time past and time future, what might have been and what has been, point to one end, which is always present. I imagine that Eliot unbound himself to the pain of the past and the longing for the future, by recognizing that life is always and exclusively lived in the now. And in that state of eternal presence, all those whom we have loved, all those who we currently love, and every love which may come into our lives are forever present with us if we but recognize this eternal truth.
Thank you, Jason. And by way of explanation for our unusual service today, as Brian and I were talking about upcoming services, and he realized he and Katya both had plans elsewhere today, and then he looked at the theme and went, ooh, technology. Let's use some videos. And there are benefits to this, as we got to see Katya playing, and I believe with the postlude, there's a camera on her feet too, which are always so fun to watch when she's playing the organ. All right, so technology. You might be wondering how this relates to, religion, so I thought I'd start us out with a bit of theological reflection on the matter. I'd like to share with you a highly informative piece of proof on why Google is now God. Number one, Google is the closest thing to an omniscient, all-knowing entity currently in existence, and that can be scientifically proven. Number two, Google is everywhere at once, omnipresence. Google is virtually everywhere on Earth at the same time. Number three, Google answers prayers, so to speak. One can pray to Google by doing a search for whatever question or problem is plaguing them. Ask Google and she will show you a way. Number four, Google is potentially immortal. Her algorithms are spread out across many servers. If one were taken down, undoubtedly another would survive. Number five, Google is infinite. The internet can theoretically grow forever, and Google will forever index its growth. Number six, Google remembers all. Google caches web pages regularly and stores them on her massive servers. In fact, by uploading your thoughts and opinions to the internet, you will forever live on in Google's cache somewhere, kind of a Google afterlife. And number seven, according to Google Trends, the term Google is searched for more than the terms God, Jesus, Allah, Buddha, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, and Judaism combined. God is thought to be an entity to which we mortals can turn to in time of need. Clearly, Google fulfills this to a greater degree. And last, proof number 8, should the Sam Harrises out there need it, evidence of Google's existence is abundant. Okay, all kidding aside, the first time I heard this particular theological piece, you want to call it, I was in a discussion in seminary where we all laughed and then moved on to discussion of other matters. But I wasn't quite so ready to move on. Not about the satire, but rather the piece about Google's being omnipresent. That's one of those $10 theological words. You got that omnipresent, all present everywhere? You just learned a word. Google being everywhere at once. There is something to that. There's something both in a metaphorical sense as well as a literal sense. Literally, the internet and digital sources are reaching a point where they are virtually everywhere on land. Add in the satellite signals, and the signals reach every single square inch of this globe. I say virtually everywhere on land, but there are still some notable exceptions to that. One of the ways to literally see where some of the exceptions are to an extent is to look at one of those pictures of Earth at night. Have you seen them? And you see what spots, of course, are glowing on land, but then you see what spots aren't. Some of the places that don't have light, though, do have digital signals and such. Most of Africa, for instance, where cell signals now connect many who have never been able to be connected before. They may not have a light in their house, but they have access to cell signals. And then there are some notable places with little or none. There's a particular area in West Virginia. Have y'all heard of this area? Anybody? Okay, maybe there were a couple of nods. There's an area in West Virginia where digital signals in the area are prohibited as much as possible. No Wi-Fi, no cell phones, no microwave ovens. And why? To the geeks here, it's where our most sensitive radio satellites are. So it's to keep this digital-free zone for those satellites. Now, of course, wired internet is still there. You just can't put it into the air. It would disrupt the satellites. We are in what many have called the digital age, a distinctly new age for humanity. And as with anything, it has a good side, and of course, it has the not-so-good sides. So what do you say? Start with the good stuff first? Yeah, we'll start with the good stuff first. Technology has truly changed the landscape of our world. Our current digital age is fundamentally different from everything in the past. The sharing of information is tremendous. The access to more opinions and perspectives. Okay, yes, of course these have downsides too. You're already going there. The ability that technology enables to do more things from more places that increases every day. And any of you know that our property management folks geek out of the fact that they can monitor the building's heating. I don't know if it's currently working, but there was a way to turn this building's heat on and off with an app on their phones. Yes. I love seeing the increase in the ways we can engage with one another and the different types of folks we can engage with through technology. When I was in high school, the text-based internet was starting to really take off, but nowhere was this more true than in colleges. I went to a summer-long program hosted by one of the state colleges, and while I had used the computer we had at home, yes, it was an MS-DOS command prompt level computer, the possibilities in the college system greatly exceeded anything I had experienced. There's one part in particular I remember. It was the first time I had ever seen an online discussion board. Yes, I know they're all over the place now, but it was the first time I'd ever seen that sort of thing. And my fellow students and I jumped right in to try out this new possibility. A good friend and I kicked off what we thought would be just a debate for a day. The question, which is better, Star Trek or Star Wars? Yep. He thought Trek was better, so he said, I'll take that side. And at the time, I was about equal between them, so I took the Star Wars side. Little did I know, but the debate lasted not for a day, not for a few days, not for a week. It lasted for 2 months, with multiple posts every day, folks egging us on. It was fabulous. We were the primary debaters, and fellow students might be logging on to cheer us on or literally standing next to us cheering us on while we were typing. Because I guess we still did that. I doubt a debate like this would have lasted more than half an hour or so in person, especially for teenagers. But with this newfangled format, more people were able to participate, and it lasted far longer. Oh, and by the way, nobody won. We were just debating for the sake of debating, so I don't have an answer for you. Trek is better. There is a greater connection possible today than any other time in human history. And nowhere is this more evident than in remote parts of Africa, which have never had phone lines before. Because of cell phones, they literally skipped over the technology of having the wired connections. Even in places with very little electricity, if the phone tower, or not the phone tower, the cell tower can be powered, and then there's solar power chargers for the phones, they've got connection, even with no electrical lines. And one of my favorite benefits for today's technology, the possibilities for collaborative consumption. Now, we've got common examples, and yes, they are problematic, but we've got Uber, we've got Lyft, we have Airbnb. These kinds of things wouldn't have been possible without the technology. And then there are the smaller neighborhood level ones, like neighborhood tool sharing and neighborhood talk groups, and hey, my cat is missing, can you help me? That can reach far more people than just putting up flyers. When we speak of technology, it isn't necessarily restricted to the digital age. I call the wheel a technology. Anybody else? Because it changed it was a tool that changed the amount of energy and work we could do. It was a technology. And then more recently than the wheel at least, the printing press, which brought about tremendous positive effects. Okay, then the Industrial Revolution also. So out of curiosity, just to get your wheels turning a little, I've had fun with the question of what was the greatest or most impactful invention of the last millennia. Anyone here? Agriculture. That was a little bit before the last millennia, but yes, it certainly had advances. What else? Most impactful invention? Literacy, specifically the printing press. Anyone else? Vaccines, yes. Penicillin. So I'm an oddball. I say gunpowder was. Not in a good way, but most impactful invention. Early part of the last millennia, I believe, 1100s. So lots of inventions. Anyway, that was a little divergent thread, just something to chew on. Of course, though, it isn't all positives that technology brings. Our current digital age has many, many drawbacks. Awareness of digital addiction is growing, and as is the addiction itself across virtually all generations. To start with, current statistics, actually I think it's higher than this now, more than 80% of US adults own a smartphone. And 69% or more of US adults are social media users. A little slip of the tongue there. You know the fastest growing segment of Facebook users? Retirees. A rather telling statistic, 79% of smartphone users have their phone with them at least 22 hours a day. Talk about digital saturation. But then there's the addiction elements too. According to a UK study in 2017, 36%, I bet it's higher now, of children aged 11 to 18 had recently asked their parents directly to put their phones down, and 46% of those children said their parents did not acknowledge the request. Meanwhile, 72% of people admit they use their phone while on the toilet. 36% they would use their device while out on a date. 62% at least say not being connected to Wi-Fi makes them anxious. And a full 7% admit to checking their phone while having sex. Now, don't get comfortable thinking this is only about the younger folks. Aside from millennials, you know the age group most likely to pull their phones out during a meal? The boomer generation. I couldn't let y'all be comfortable about that. Come on now. Now, these statistics are not devoid of effects. There are plenty of studies that show, as I was mentioning, the presence of a cell phone, even if it's off or not in use, decreases our capacity for empathy and connection in person. Other studies show the presence of a cell phone decreases cognitive capacity. And it's fairly obvious that interruptions from one's phone decrease concentration. And then others talk about the physical effects of all of these signals, the low level of radiation that our bodies are constantly exposed to, the impact of screen time and that kind of light on our sleep. We're seeing emotional effects, mental effects, and physical effects. I put an app called Moment on my phone one time to track the number and duration of times I checked my phone during a day. Now, I had some guesses for these numbers, and my guess for the total duration was actually fairly accurate. The amount of time my eyeballs were looking at the screen added up over a day. You know what I was way off on? The number of times I picked it up. That discovery did help me change my patterns for a little while, but I think some of that has stuck because I was so uncomfortable with the quantity of times that this app I voluntarily put on my phone told me I was picking it up every day. So why does all of this matter? And why are we talking about it here in a church. Fundamentally, the challenge of digital addiction and the impact of the digital world in our lives is a spiritual matter. At its heart, it's about intentionality, it's about balance, it's about connecting with each other and connecting with what is meaningful in our lives. Our lives aren't balanced when the mere presence of a phone that we thoughtlessly leave beside us impacts our ability to connect with a person right in front of us. Our lives aren't balanced when we pick up our phones so many times, and each of those times is a distraction that impacts what we're doing and the depth of what we can do. And it sure doesn't make sense when we come here and hold up the mindfulness and awareness, yet allow things to detract from that very mindfulness and awareness, whether we're conscious of it or not. A good part of my journey with simple and simpler living is largely about intentional living. You hear the simple living buzzword all around, but really I think it's about intentionality. And that's a big movement today as well, intentional living. It takes on so many different names. And intentional living, it's about, get ready for the buzzwords, balance, awareness, mindfulness, and alignment. To me, it is fundamentally spiritually living at the mundane level because we're doing it every single moment, but it's impacting our whole self and our whole lives and our whole way of being with the world. One thing intentional living doesn't have, the mindless impact of digital addictions on our lives. To bring our lives into balance and into alignment with what we want to be, we have to rein in the unintentional impacts of our ever so fantastic technologies. We have to take charge of our impulses and reactions and move towards that holy grail of intentional living. Okay, maybe that holy grail is achievable though, and there are things we can do to help us on our journey. One of the bloggers that I really like is Anthony Ungaro. And he runs a blog called, and actually just the name of the blog tells you the nugget of what he's saying, Break the Twitch. You like that, don't you? Break the Twitch. It means exactly what you think it means. He blogs about breaking automatic impulses that control our actions, specifically related to technology and consumption. It's his take on intentional living, and one that I think is very relevant. I learned about that Moment app from Ungaro, and he talks about it too. That's one of the first steps, awareness of what we're doing. It's the first step in so many behavior changes. He has another less digital way of raising awareness that I think is valuable too. He calls it the personal dashboard. It isn't a dashboard like a car. It's kind of like that though. It starts with knowing what parts of one's life tend to show the impact of clutter first. Physical clutter, mental clutter, that sort of thing. It might be the top of your dresser, which I will never show you a picture of the top of mine. It could be your email inbox. Anybody over 100 emails in their inbox? Over 1,000? I won't keep going for fear of embarrassing folks. Your dashboard could be the quality of your sleep or the quantity of your screen time. The personal dashboard technique is about knowing what your gauges are, and then when they're in a warning zone kind of area for you, and then making an intentional change when you see that. So one of my dashboard items is my cat. You know I had to preach about cats at some point, right? Yes. She's excellent at reminding me when I'm too focused on my phone or on something else. Lying in bed on my phone, scrolling through whatever I want to scroll through, it's a common current. She comes over, she comes up, she gets in my face. Hey, human, you're not paying attention to me. I'm more important than that phone. She's right. And her reminder to put my phone down and put my hands on her and my attention on her is a good reminder to refocus myself and refocus what I'm giving my attention and meaning to. So Ungaro also has a vlog series, at least that's what they used to call it, a video blog. I think now it's just a YouTube channel, is what it'll be called, on specific things to raise awareness of digital attachments. And I found it valuable and learned things I didn't expect to. One of the things he talks about is digital detox. Okay, detox is a word thrown around a lot these days, but there's something to it. He goes through managing notifications, apps, emails. He talks about the time on social media, turns off those notifications, and talks about carving out screen-free time. You ever just left your phone in another room, all your technology, and said, I'm just not even going to pay attention to it? I recommend it. Just carve out that time for yourself. And of course, there are the experiments you can do on yourself. Each is a step towards greater awareness or greater intentionality in your living. I did a minimal waste challenge to myself one year and a consumption awareness challenge. Intentional living, it can look like all sorts of things, and we can go at it in all sorts of ways. Intentional living is not out of reach for any of us, but you know it isn't automatic either. It's actually the exact opposite of automatic because it's intentional. See how I did that? Yes. Balanced, intentional living. That is spiritual living. At least in my book it is. Balanced, intentional living. This digital age is not going anywhere, and retreating from it entirely isn't really an option either. Our challenge is to find balance and live with intentionality while taking advantage of the power of the connections and possibilities, but taking control of our own selves within it. May it be so as we go into this new year.
We would now like to invite you to make an offering. In this way, each of us has the opportunity to contribute to keeping our community dynamic and resilient. We are continuing to conduct the offering without passing the plate, and instead you can either give electronically by scanning the QR code on the back of your badge, or you can put cash or check in the donation into the donation envelope that you'll find in the back of the pew in front of you. Write your name on it and mark offering plate or pledge. And then you can put that into the donation box, which is beside the fountain in the atrium. Each week, half of our offering plate is shared with a nonprofit Good Neighbor organization recommended by our Social Justice Council. We're grateful that you've continued to practice generosity with UUCB and our good neighbors through these difficult years. Your offering of any value is always received with gratitude. This month, our good neighbor is the Richmond High School Marching Band. They're raising money to march at Disneyland this year to give Richmond High students a chance to travel outside of their community and provide the background for many learning opportunities. Thank you. Sorry?
Oh, fabulous. Come on up.
I'm sorry, who's here?
The speaker's here.
Oh,
Yeah, come on up.
come up, please.
Yep, no worries. Come on up.
Thanks.
So we welcome a representative from the Richmond High School Marching Band here to talk about it. We're so glad that you're here.
Hi everybody, how's it going? My name's Andrew Wilkie. I'm the director of the Richmond High School Music Department, and I've been there, this is my 9th year at the school. We started there, when I started there 9 years ago, there wasn't a music program, and I started with 8 students in our marching band. This year we have 70 students, 70 musicians, yep. And yeah, every year we keep growing and going, and marching band is one aspect of our program. So I have 4 different band classes, concert, symphonic, marching, jazz. We have 2 orchestras, 2 string orchestras, and then also a music production course. And it's just me down there doing all that. And as we keep growing, we keep having to meet needs of fundraising to do trips like Disneyland, and we're going to be marching in the Chinese New Year Parade in San Francisco this first weekend of February. So you could see us on many of the television channels. Yeah, so I just want to thank you guys for considering us for this and making a donation to our students who are so deserving and work tirelessly for me and for each other as a community and a family. You know, we're using our technology of instruments, very old technology, to build community, to give our students the power to recognize their voice and their just power that they have to affect a group. And in these 9 years, I get to watch these students grow up, stay in our community, and affect our community and affect change in the community. It's a beautiful thing. So thank you guys so much for considering supporting our students. And yes, thank you.
Thank you for joining us this morning. I appreciate it. So now, please join me in dedicating our offering. We dedicate our offering and ourselves to the mission of this congregation, to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service.
All right. It has been so good being together today, hasn't it? Starting out this new year together as a church community, it's going to be an exciting year for the church. And I have some super cool things to talk with you about. First of all, before I forget, Lynn Cahoon says everyone is required to sign the super cards. Super cards are those great big sheets of paper that either for folks' birthdays or some accomplishment or when somebody's going through a hard time, that we write and sign this card form. It doesn't matter if you know it or not. Folks are so happy when they see all of these well wishes from UUCB. So they're out every single Sunday, and Lynn says you all have to sign it. So there. We're also running a drive. I love words. Flash Drives for Freedom is an organization that collects used flash drives and micro SD cards and then wipes them and fills them up with information that activists from South Korea work to smuggle into North Korea. So as you're cleaning things out in this new year, if you've got old flash drives, old micro SD cards, please bring them to the church. We'll have the basket out all this month, the little green basket. Pop them in there, and we'll be able to send for that vital work of getting outside information in to that closed regime. And Tess has asked me to make a plea to you all. The key of the church that lives in the lockbox has gone missing. Someone walked home with it in their pocket. So please, everyone who might have had access to that key, could you please check your pockets, your pocketbooks, anything that the key might go to, so that we don't have to rekey the church, which is not a fun thing to do. Please look for that key or any other keys to doors at the church that you may have lying around, and please get them back to the church. And then last, Beth has one more announcement for us. Oh no, and then I have one more, so I'll make the one. Well, Beth's walking up here. For folks who are new here, next Sunday, we're having a super special program for folks who are new to UUCB for questions they may have about the congregation, about Unitarian Universalism. Jay Atkinson, where are you, Jay? You're somewhere in here? He'll be helping to lead it along with Lonnie and Victoria. It'll be next Sunday after the service in the fireside room, and I hear there will be lunch. So if you're new here, you're in for a treat. All right, Beth?
We have fabulous employees here at UUCB, and this week we're winding down our New Year's Staff Appreciation monetary gift through cash donations and the jar in the atrium, or by check or Venmo or PayPal to Elaine Miller, one of our board members. So please give generously. Thank you.
All right, we have a digital song, and then we'll get to hear Katya on the organ. But first, I'm actually not familiar with this one, so we get a new song today. Please rise in body or in spirit. You may be familiar with it. Our world is one world. I hope the words will be on screen, and I don't know what the number is. So let's please rise in body or in spirit, and let's have fun with the song. be seated. That's a good one. We'll have to do that some more. We live in a very full world, full of information, full of noise, full of signals, full of distractions. But it's also full of the stories of others, full of potential, full of possibilities. Hence our challenge, to live intentionally into the fullness with all the possibilities. Blessed be.